Paper 3, Speaking, Marks Game. The speaking exam is worth 40 marks. The examiner will assess your grammar, vocabulary, development of your ideas, and pronunciation. Introduction, approximately 1 minute. This part is not assessed. The examiner will welcome you and ask you some basic questions to make you feel comfortable.
Good evening. What's your name?
Mohammed.
Okay. Nice name. Nice to meet you. So first we will start with a short warm-up. We'll ask you some questions to find out more about you.
Yeah.
This part is not assessed. After the warm-up, there are 3 assessed parts: an interview, a short talk, and a discussion.
Warm up, 1 to 2 minutes. This part is not assessed. The examiner will ask you some warm-up questions.
Okay, so what would you like to do when you finish school?
Well, when I finish school, most of my family has been into medicine, so I might actually look into the medical field. I'm planning to maybe become a brain surgeon because it's the part of the body that fascinates me the most, because it's where all your intelligence comes from, and it's basically like operates everything they do. So I'd like to find out a lot more about it if I can.
Okay, what kind of music do you like?
I don't actually listen to music that much. Like my taste in music is very generic because it's mostly just what pops up on TikTok. Yeah, it's mostly what pops up on there. So I don't really specifically go out of my way to listen to music. So
Tell me more about your friends. Tell me about your friends.
well, my friends, I've made a lot of friends throughout the year, and I've mostly made them because I like if they have a sense of humor or not. That's maybe the most important thing, because you should enjoy hanging out with your friends. It's like the main thing, right? And also common interests. That's usually what makes us come together. We like to have discussions about different topics, movies, films, etc.
Okay, can you tell me more about your friends?
More in detail. Well, most of the friends that I've made have been Sudanese because they came from Sudan. So yeah, we might have actually shared a lot of experiences. So I usually tend to find that most of my friends are like similar to me in a sense. So.
Part 1, Interview, 2 to 3 minutes. This is the first assessed part of the test. The examiner will ask you some questions about a particular topic.
Okay. The first assessed part of the test is an interview. I'm going to ask you some questions about where you live. Try to say as much as you can for each question. Before we start, do you have any questions?
As much as I can talk about?
Yeah, as much as you can. Okay, so first of all, can you tell me about your hometown and village you used to live?
Well, I was born in Ireland and I spent 6 years of my life there, but then I moved to Sudan and I spent another 6 years of my life there. But now I've moved to Saudi and I spent around maybe a couple of months. So I can actually talk about each country individually if you want, or I can pick one and just talk about it.
Just tell me about your town you live in currently.
Okay, currently. Well, I've lived in Sardinia for a couple of months, and it's been an interesting couple of months to say the least. Like, I've spent a couple of summers here, but it's nothing like actually living here, going to school, like waking up and like just spending a decent year here. So it's been an experience.
Can you tell me about Sudan?
Sudan. Well, I'm a lot more comfortable in Sudan because it's my home country, it's where my people are from, and I really like the people there. They're so friendly, they're very nice, and we have a lot in common because you usually often have the same experiences growing up. So you make friends a lot more easily there.
What can you do in your free time in your area?
In my free time, well, most of my free time consists of me playing football. I picked up the hobby maybe like a year ago because I watched the World Cup, and I just find it like it's something to very relaxing. So I usually do it all the time.
Okay, Chris, do you think it's healthier to live in a town or in a country?
Town. Country isn't town.
You like in urban areas or in rural areas?
Urban areas or rural? I think it's healthier to live in rural areas because in urban areas you're not. Well, some people will talk about nature and whatnot, but mostly it's just like a sense of community because urban areas is actually so isolating because even if you're just surrounded with people, they're complete strangers. You oftentimes in apartments and whatnot, you see people, they go outside and they don't even know their neighbor, they don't even know their name, they don't even talk to them. But in rural areas, there's a sense of community. You go outside, you say hi, you're invited to dinner and whatnot. So I find that rural areas are a much better place to live and grow.
Okay.
Part 2, Short Talk, 3 to 4 minutes. This is the second assessed part of the test. The examiner will give you a speaking card. You will have 1 minute to read and think about what you want to say about it. You are not allowed to make any written notes.
The second assessed part of the test is a short talk. So we give you a card and you will have 1 minute to read it. And think about what you want to say. You should talk about the points on your card. You can't make any written notes, but you can ask me if there is anything you do not understand. You may keep the card until the end of that short talk. Here's your card.
One minute.
Okay, I'm afraid your time is over. Now start talking.
So the teacher is planning a school trip and they've given us the two options, a visit to a museum or a visit to a sports center. Now, in my opinion, I think that a visit to a sports center would be a lot better choice for our class in particular. Why? Because while a visit to a museum would be a lot more educational and would give us a lot more facts and okay, so while a visit to the museum at face value might be a lot more educational, it's only something that you can get use out of if you actually pay attention to what's being taught, to the facts that are given to you. And I don't think that's something that will happen, especially with the kids in our class, because they're a lot more hyperactive and they need an activity to get the energy out of their system. So I think that a visit to the sports center would be a lot better.
Okay, what kind of activities are you willing to try in the sports center?
In the sports center, well, it is all about sports. So maybe sports that people like, maybe football, basketball. Maybe you could even introduce a couple sports that people aren't familiar with, like maybe handball, volleyball, stuff that aren't conventionally played, like in these areas.
Are you willing to try a new sport that you've never tried before?
Yeah, of course, I love trying new things.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, well, it's a very yes or no question. It's like, are you willing to try new things?
Okay. I guess the 2 minutes are over now. Now, thank you. Can I have a go back? Thank you so much.
Part 3, Discussion, 3 to 4 minutes. This is the third assessed part of the exam. The examiner will ask you a few questions related to the topic you have just talked about.
Now let's move on to part 3. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a few questions related to the topic you have just talked about. This part of the test will last approximately 3 minutes. Before we start, do you have any questions? Feel free to ask. Okay, so now this is the discussion. Do you think students should be involved in planning the school?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think they have the capacity to be that responsible of other students yet. You frequently see when students are responsible for other students, things might go wrong, they might be biased in their decision making to favor themselves instead of other students, so I think that students should not be responsible.
Okay. Parents should join their children on school trips. What do you think of this statement?
No, I do not think that parents should join their kids on school trips. The school trips are supposed to be changing the environment and allowing them to experience new things really on their own, while parents may inhibit that and try to be a lot more controlling, try to get them to use this in a more educational way, try to get them to pay attention and to be a lot more controlled. And I don't think the students would even get that much out of the experience because it wouldn't even be that enjoyable for them. It would be something that they'd rather not remember.
Okay. Now, you learn more on school trips than in the classroom. This is a statement stated by a student. Do you agree?
Well, no, I do not agree because classrooms are obviously for learning, and when you're in a classroom environment, if it's a good classroom environment, you'd be paying attention to the teacher and what he's giving you, and it's something that you're specifically there to learn and try to remember as much as possible and get as much value out of your time as possible. While in school trips, most people go to school trips for enjoyment. Even if they might be learning a couple of things, it's not nearly as much as classroom.
Okay. Is it a good idea for students to spend a short time in a school, a short time in a school abroad?
Well, it would be a change of environment, but that would mostly depend on the student and how responsible he is. If the student is responsible, then going to a school environment, a new environment, such as going to a school abroad, might actually be helpful because it will allow them to experience new things and maybe like broaden their horizon. But if the student is irresponsible, it might actually destroy their academic life. They might not actually make a lot of progress in their studies, and it might be an awful experience together. So yeah, it depends on the student.
Do you have any details to add on any question? Okay. You said that you don't agree with you can learn more on the school trip than in the classroom. Can you explain a bit more?
Yeah, well, as I stated, most people, when they're in a school classroom and they are paying attention, it's a much more steady environment. You know, there's not a lot going on around. There's not a lot of distractions. So you get a lot more out of the information that is given to you. It's much easier to recall and remember. But in a school environment, it's something that people can go to with the mindset of, oh, I'm going to have fun, you know? So it's not something that people are going there to learn from safely. And even if they are going to learn, there's only so much that you can learn. Like, you're not really going to get that much education in the school trip.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. This is very fantastic.
The student has used simple and complex structures accurately. Furthermore, the errors are rare and do not impede understanding. As a result, for grammar, he is awarded 10 points. The student has used a wide range of vocabulary accurately. For vocabulary, he is awarded 10 points. The student's responses are relevant and mostly developed. However, communication needed some support from the examiner. Therefore, for development, he is awarded 8 points. The student has very clear pronunciation. However, intonation is sometimes used to convey the intended meaning. As a result, for pronunciation, he is awarded 8 points. The student has demonstrated an excellent command of the English language, with clear pronunciation and a high level of fluency. He was able to communicate effectively throughout most of the exam. However, there were times when he needed additional support in order to maintain communication. Despite this minor difficulty, his overall performance earned him 37 out of 40 points, a very impressive score that reflects his strong proficiency in English. Well done!